Hello everybody, welcome to a new video about using open source software, free software to make the G-code to operate a CNC. In this video I'm going to show you how to make a column that looks like an ancient column using Blender and only Blender. We will use Blender to make the 3D modeling. It will take just a couple of minutes, and then we will also use Blender to make the G-code for a 4-axis CNC, for a rotary axis CNC, to generate the G-code, and then we will move on to the CNC and make the actual milling. This is the final object that I obtained using this method. It's pretty easy. It can be very useful, especially if you're making models, dioramas or similar things. You might want to create such a nice column. It's very easy. Let's get started. I will delete the toolpath and the objects. But before moving on, I want to thank everybody for supporting me through my Patreon page. It means a lot and it helps me. So let's start designing the actual column. I'm going to go to Add Cube, hold the mouse down and select Add Cylinder. Then click and hold somewhere random on the screen. And as you can see, I can draw the base circle of the column, but it isn't constrained. For that I have to hold Shift and Alt, release the mouse, and then moving upwards I have a cylinder. Now let's press N to open the right side menu. I can see here its dimensions. I want it to be 30 millimeters in diameter, so both X and Y should be 30, and a total height of 100 millimeters. Press enter and I have the correct size cylinder. Now I need to move it into the world origin. For that I have to move its origin. Let me just use the select so it's easier to see. This little white dot is the origin of the object. I have to move it in the center of the bottom face. For that I have to enter edit mode because I cannot select the center of the circle. Press tab, make sure I'm in the face, select here, select face, click somewhere else, select the bottom circle, and now press Shift S and use cursor to select it. Now the 3D cursor, which used to be in the center of the world, is in the center of this bottom circle of my cylinder. Now I can exit by pressing tab or selecting from here, go back into object mode and right click, set origin to 3D cursor. As you can see, the little white dot moved here, and now if I set the location of the object to 0 on all the 3 axes, the object will be exactly in the center of the world. I will press again Shift S and select cursor to world origin so I can reset the position of the cursor. Now let's create those nice lines around the column. For that I will go to the add menu, mesh, and add a new V-sphere with a radius of 2.5 millimeters. This will result in a channel of 5 millimeters. So let's set the top. I will press on the Z here to have a top view. Select the move tool and move it to have the center barely touching the edge of the cylinder. I can also set it from here, -15. As you remember, the diameter of the cylinder was 30 millimeters. Press enter and now I have the sphere correctly positioned. Rotate the view again and let's move it a little bit higher so we have a little space here. Now let's convert this sphere into a very long channel. In order to do that, I will change the view to wireframe so I can easier select everything. Press tab to enter edit mode or select it from here. Make sure the face selection is active and press on the -Y so I can have an orthographic view of the sphere. Now I will select the 2 central rows, right click and select subdivide. After that click somewhere else and select the upper half of the sphere. Select again, just make sure I also select the second row. Now zoom out and with the move tool select it again. Drag it upwards until the top distance. Click on the -Y to have an orthographic view and move it upwards to have a distance equal to the bottom distance. Visually you can also measure it, but I think visually it's enough. Now press tab to exit the edit mode and switch the view to solid again. We need to make several copies and rotate them around the cylinder. In order to do that, I need first to move the origin to the central point around which I want it rotated. So I want to move the origin to the 3D cursor. Right click, set origin, origin to 3D cursor. You can see the little white dot moved in the center of the world. Now let's go to the modifiers and add another modifier. Click on search and write array. The not so nice thing in Blender is that I don't have a polar array. The good thing is that it's not really that difficult to create one. Let's go to the add menu, empty and arrows. I have an object here, as you can see, and go back to the sphere, to the modifier. Instead of relative offset, I will select object offset, open the little arrow here and select from the object list the empty that I have just created. Also, let's change the count. Let's say I want 15 of these objects. I want them rotated around this cylinder. For that I need to open the calculator and I will divide 360 degrees to the total number, which is 15. I will end up with a 24 degrees rotation. So let's go to the empty. Here I have rotation around the z-axis. I will write 24, press tab, and as you can see I have the spheres, let's call it like that for now. I have the spheres rotated equally and evenly spaced around the object. Now let's select the sphere again and apply the modifier. Moving back to the cylinder, I will add another modifier here, again search, boolean, and here I will leave the type to difference and select the object, the sphere. I will apply the modifier and hide the visibility of the sphere. As you can see, we have something that starts to look like a nice column. We still need to make the ends of the column. For that I will enter edit mode, pressing tab or selecting it from here. Make sure the face selection is active. Select the top face, and now I will show you just a little example. I've already created the column before, so probably it won't be exactly as the one that I have already milled on the CNC, but you will get the idea. I have 3 keys that I'm going to press. I will show you exactly what each of them does, and the rest is up to your imagination. So with the face selected, press E to extrude the face, so I can enlarge this. Press S to scale. You can see that it grows or shrinks accordingly. E again to extrude another face, scale again, or just leave it like this. Press escape, extrude again, now press scale. As you can see, I did this ridge here, and now if I want to make a straight cut here, I will press I and make an inset, then extrude this face again, and so on until you get the correct shape that you want. I will do the same for the bottom. Select the face, press E to extrude, S to scale, make it larger, extrude again a little bit, extrude again, then scale it. Now I have this wider ridge, extrude, extrude again, then scale this one, and I have the correct base. Now it looks something similar to what I've created. I'm not sure if it is exactly the same, but you get the idea. These are the 3 keys: the E to create another face and extrude it, the S to scale it, and I to create a smaller face exactly on the level of the other face that is already selected to inset the face. So now press tab to exit the edit mode. I have the column created. I still need to do something, which is correctly position the origin and the object. For the next part, we will move on to the second part of the video, installing FabEX and then generating the G-code for the 4-axis CNC. So press tab again to enter edit mode, select the bottom face, shift S, cursor to selected, press tab to exit edit mode, right click, set origin to 3D cursor. And now I can go here in the side menu. Again, if you don't see the side menu, press N, set everything to 0. Now with the mouse somewhere in the viewport, press Ctrl A and apply all transforms. Now let's rotate it, make sure it is minus 90 degrees. Apply the transforms again, and now I have the object correctly positioned to create a milling operation in a 4-axis system. So now that we have the column created, let's install FabEX CNC. For that you will find the link in the description of this video where you can download the zip file. With the zip file downloaded, go to the edit menu, preferences, get extensions, and here select the little arrow, click on install from disk, go to the location where you have downloaded it and select the FabEX CNC file that you have downloaded. I have two here because I have already downloaded it several times. Click install from disk. It will take a little bit, and now you should see it in the list. You should see here installed FabEX and find it here in the list. After installing it, let's move on to the add-ons tab. Here I have the FabEX CNC. I will suggest you keep those settings by default, as you can see them in my videos. It's much easier to work with them this way if you are following one of my videos. Otherwise, you will have to search for different options, which will take a lot of time. So let's close the extensions, and now let's move on to the CNC part. For that, I will go to the render tab, change the render engine from Eve to FabEX CNC. You should first remember that, let me just enlarge this a little bit, make sure the post processor is the one corresponding to your machine. You have the correct unit system, the collet size and the work area size, the total size of the CNC. You could enable the fourth axis, but I don't like to keep it enabled. I like to keep it disabled because generally I work in a 3-axis configuration. When I want the fourth axis, it will also be available in each operation, so there is no need to enable it from here. Now let's go upwards and select the object, the column. In the operations tab, click on the plus button to create a new CAM operation. You can see it here created. Unlike the older versions of FabEX CNC or Blender CAM as it was called, you won't have the options here, but you have this tab here in the side menu. Again, if you don't find it, press N to hide or show it. So let's go to the CNC tab and let's set the operation to make everything mill correctly. First, let's change the axis count from 3 axis to 4 axis. You can see it's still experimental, but it works okay. For the 4 axis strategy, I will leave it as parallel along first rotary axis. For now, parallel around first rotary axis takes a huge amount of time to compute. The helix doesn't work and indexed doesn't apply to this situation. Well, it could apply if I had a proper tool bit to mill those channels. Maybe I could mill the center of the column using a different tool bit, but let's set the standard situation where you have a carving ball and tool bit. Let's set everything up this way because that's the way I have milled the column anyway. After modifying these settings, make sure the rotary axis is the one that your machine is configured. Maybe it is along the y-axis, change it. In my situation, it is along the x-axis. Everything in this menu is correct. I need to cut aside. I don't need any skin. I don't need any lead in or lead out, just one outline. So everything should be okay. Let's enable the y-axis from here and leave it a 0 degrees start rotation. This is just the start rotation. It doesn't influence anything else. And make sure you have checked A along X. Now let's set the operation area. This is a little bit trickier because I'm using stock that I'm dimensioning using a bandsaw, so I will be using square stock, which means I need to use a larger radius than the actual object that I'm milling. Let me explain you exactly what I'm talking about. Let's set a side view. I have a stock that is this square shape. This means that I need to cut these corners. If I use the default shape, here the tool bit will enter too deep into the material. I risk all kind of problems. So let's determine that value. With the column selected, let's go to item and check its size. As you can see, it's 43.8 by 43.8 millimeters, but that is the diameter of the object. So I need to calculate the distance. From here I can use simple math, or if I don't want to make the computations, just go here, add a cube, make it slightly equal, and now let's get the dimensions on the y and on the z of this cube. But in order to get the distance here, I still need to do something, which is rotate it 45 degrees, press Ctrl A to apply all the transforms, and now I can see the diameter that I need to take into account is 64 millimeters. This will result in a start height of 32 millimeters because, as you can see, it is centered in the origin. I can now delete this cube. back to the operation area. I need a start depth of 32 millimeters. As you can see, I have a warning because the safe height is smaller, so I need to enter a larger safe height. Let's use 40 millimeters, and now everything should be okay. Since I'm using a pretty small tool bit, I will leave the layers checked, of course, but I will change the layers height to 5 millimeters. Now let's set the cutter. I'm going to use an end cylinder of 1 millimeter. Well, as you can see in the video, I don't have a straight end cylinder of 1 millimeter, but a ball cone. I'm not going to select that. I've tried it a lot of times, and I think it takes way too much time to compute the operation. I left it working for 5 or 6 hours. I came back and it was around 40%, so I think it's not feasible for now to use the exact shape. I know the final result won't be exactly what I expect, but it will be close enough, so I will use a straight end cylinder. It will improve the calculation time a lot. Now let's change the feed rates. I'm going to use 3500 millimeters per minute and the spindle speed of 20,000 RPM. These two values are dependent on the material that you are milling, on the rigidity of your machine, on the power of your stepper motors. So use the values that you know work okay for your machine. These are the values that work okay in my situation. The plunge speed is the speed on the vertical. I will use it also with a 3500 value. It is expressed as a percentage of this feed rate, not as an individual value, but I think that is okay. One important thing that I need to do before exporting the G-code is check the output trailer and write here in this field M02. If you don't do that, at the end of the operation, the machine will keep on rotating the spindle. You have to stop it manually. Remember to write the M02, which ends everything and stops the machine. Now at the movement tab, I have to make some important changes. First, the milling type, I will change it from climb conventional. I don't like to use them. I like to use meander, especially for this type of operations, because it reduces everything in half. If I use conventional or climb, it will make one pass along the object, mill, then raise the cutter head, return to the start position, and so on. Using meander will cut on both type of movements, so basically it will cut continuously until the object is ready. This reduces the time in half. All the other settings should be left as default. Maybe just modify the threshold, which is 0.2 micrometers. I will use a value of 100 micrometers, which is the tolerance of my machine, and I think it's enough to use it this way. This will improve calculation time again. Now everything is ready. I need to calculate the path, and after that, even though it says export G-code, it doesn't export it, or exports it somewhere where I couldn't find the file. I will show you how to find the file, how to save it correctly. First, let's calculate things. It will take some time. So the toolpath generation is ready. It took around 10 minutes. I think it's a long time, but things will be improved for sure in the near future. Now, in order to export the G-code, because even though it says calculate path and export G-code, as I have told you, you won't find the file too easy unless you do something, which is save the file. I have the file already saved as an ancient column.blend, and let's click this button, export G-code. It will save a file with the operation name, so op cylinder 1, in the exact same folder where the file, the Blender file, is saved. I can now go to Universal G-code sender, open that file, and here it is what ended up. As I have told you along this video, I have already milled everything in order to make sure it works correctly. So there might be some small differences, but you get the idea. This is the column that ended up. I think it looks absolutely stunning. I like it a lot, and I think it is very useful for a lot of situations to know how to operate the fourth axis to get different objects. Whenever you are creating landscapes, you can create a lot of similar objects with just a couple of clicks. This is all for this video. I would like to remind you that if you want to watch my videos without any interruptions, all the subscribers to my Patreon page will have access there to the videos. You also support me a lot in order to be able to keep what I'm doing. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.